They say everyone has a guardian angel. Would you like to meet yours? This is Robert Manni, host of Guys TV, and this week my special guest is spiritual teacher Nancy Yearout. And it all starts right here, right now on Guys TV. You can also catch me on KCAA Radio here in Southern California, Guys Radio, my worldwide podcast, and we're on UK Health Radio all weekend long. Guys TV, Guys Radio. Thanks for your support. Okay, Guys Radio, we are at the interview portion of our show, and today my special guest is Nancy Yearout. Let me tell you a little bit about Nancy. Nancy is an angel communicator. She channels Archangel Gabriel's messages for humanity, which can be found on Nancy's website, Nancy Yearout, like yearandout.com. Her gifts include Claircognizance, which is clear knowing, Clairsentience, which is clear physical feeling, Clairsalience, clear smelling, and some clairvoyance, clear seeing. She's a light worker and she's written a number of books. We're going to talk about this book today. I'm holding it up for our YouTube audience, A Guide to Angel Communication and Spiritual Laws and Angels' Connection to God. So we're going to talk about the angels, your guardian angel, archangels, how to communicate with angels, the physical laws of universal laws, and we're also going to talk about the channeled letters, really, that Nancy has had through Archangel Gabriel. So keep your heart open, keep your mind open, and let's do this. Welcome to the show, Nancy Yearout.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So it's just amazing. What was the, let's start at the very beginning for people who aren't aware. Guardian angels. What is your definition of a guardian angel? Most people think they've got an angel, stays with them throughout life, and that's about it. But it's a lot more than that.
Well, it is. We all have an angel that comes in with us at birth. And, there is a scripture in the Bible that talks about where Jesus says that we do have an angel that comes in at birth. And that angel is with us for a whole life. Now, my angel stands right next to me. She's right here on my right side. I speak to her daily and we communicate. She does come in when I have a reading and she brings forth the information for the person. But what I want to do through this book is to teach everybody how to communicate with their own guardian angel. So they don't need to call me. They can just, ask their own angel, because your angel has your back and your angel is at a high frequency. And so they are only loving and kind. So that is how important it is to connect so that you get these loving messages, that you get the support that you need. And I also talk about in the book how to connect with spirit, God. Some people say source. I also go through the steps of connecting to Mother Earth, because the first thing we need to do in order to connect with our angel is to be connected with the divine source and bring in that energy. So I go through those steps in the book. And you can't just connect to source and be woo-woo kind of out of your body. So you have to ground. So I teach grounding. And the energies from Mother Earth are healing. And we also receive information, from Mother Earth. So that's why that's so important. And then the last thing is, of course, connecting with your own angel. And it's really cool. And it's really exciting to get the messages from your angel.
Now, let's talk about archangels for a moment, if
Sure.
we can. There's a group of angels, and is there like a core group of about 8 or so of archangels that are like the most well-known? And is there a hierarchy of archangels and also angels?
Yeah, well, from what I know, I started out working with Michael. And the reason I started with Michael was he is the warrior angel. And I did have some different things happen to me. I was working with Archangel Michael, bringing in messages with him before I even worked with Gabriel. And then I had a funny thing happen, I'll just tell you. This was at a time where I still had a landline in my house, and I was in Texas, and I had just started my podcast, and I was connecting to spirit every day, bringing in the light. And I got a call from Tibet because my caller ID said Tibet. And so I had just written my book, Wake Up, the Universe is Speaking to You. And so I thought, well, I'm going to answer it. So I answered it. And it was this monk from Tibet, and he was really quite irritated. He said, I was meditating, I was given your number, I received messages from Archangel Michael, and he had me call you. He didn't know my name, he just knew my number. He said, do you have crystals all around you? And I said, yes, I do. And he said, well, I have a couple messages for you from Archangel Michael. The first was that I would write 2 more books. Now I've only written one since. And the other was to let me know that he is with me. And that was it. And he hung up. that was
Fantastic.
that was about 2019. And that was crazy. So that was my first like, wow, okay. And then after that with Michael, I've learned how to protect myself. I am a light worker and I have because I do connect every day and bring in the light, I have a lot of negative energies that kind of want to come in, and so I've learned how to protect myself. And Michael has been the one that's come in to teach me how to do that. So he was the first. Then after Michael, I went through a divorce, a really terrible divorce in 2020, and I had somebody on my show, and she said, "You know, Nancy, you ought to bring in Gabriel." And she was also an angel communicator, and she showed me how to do it. And so I started bringing in Gabriel, mostly because I needed comfort myself. I just needed help. And he would tell me, he would it would come into my head, and I would take my legal pad and I would write down what he said. And then I thought, well, we need to expand this. And I'd say, well, do you have any messages for humanity? Because things are really crazy here. And he started to bring forth these messages. And that's how this all evolved. And I put them in the book for humanity to help.
Let's uh let's take a step back. I should have asked this at the beginning is what
Sure.
happened to you? How did you first kind of get tapped in where you could be? I mean, obviously everybody can connect to source, but
Oh,
not
yeah,
everybody can do it. The dial is turned in different at different levels for different people at different times.
that's right.
What did you have some spiritual or some type of traumatic or some type of health experience, whatever, that led you to being able to be connecting and communicating with angels on a regular basis?
Well, I have to say it was the divorce really catapulted me to where I was like, okay, God, I really need to work on myself. And it was after I went within. To be honest with you, it was like, okay, what do I need to do? And so I worked on myself and I connected and I learned and I just kept working on myself. And the more that I did, then it just evolved because I believe that everybody, has to work on themselves. And as you do, then you raise your vibration. And then and then I started to see the angel numbers, of course, 11,
Mhm.
11, then 22, 22. And these are
Right.
confirmations that the angels are nudging us. They're trying to get our attention. So it was a process, but yes, it was a divorce that really catapulted me into all of this.
For
Mhm.
for your communication then, Nancy, and my special guest is angel communicator and author and podcast host, Nancy Yearout. What's the name of your podcast again? I'm
It's
sorry.
High Road to Humanity.
High Road to Humanity. I was a guest on it a few years back.
Yes, you
Terrific
were.
show. It's been growing and growing. But
Thank you.
when the angels connect with you, do you is it's telepathic, obviously. Do you hear a voice? And how do you differentiate which angel it is?
Yeah, and I talk about this in the book when I teach people how to do it. And obviously, you say a prayer. I pray in the morning and do all of that first. And you want to call in your angel. First of all, let me just back up. The angels want to be recognized, and you have to realize we have free will. So until we acknowledge them, they really, I mean, they can nudge us, they can give us signs, but they really want to be acknowledged. So the first thing to do is to acknowledge that you do have an angel. I teach in the book, to ask for their name, ask for their sex. Some say they don't have any sex. My angel, I shortened her name because it was kind of long. So I made it a little shorter. It's Haley, and she's right here. And I always ask her before I start a show if she'd mind answering questions for me. Now, what happens is when I ask her a question, and this is how you know the difference between yourself and your angel. I ask her a question, it comes immediate. There's no time to think.
Mhm.
So when you ask a question, it comes boom right away. So that's how you know the difference between your angel and your own mind speaking to you. And yes, yeah, she just tells me, I hear what she says. Like if you want to ask me a question, I can ask her, she'll answer it for you. But how did I really know it was her? It took some time. it took me doing readings for other people and bringing in the information. I'm only the conduit.
Hmm.
Okay. I'm just the conduit. So I would do a reading and I would ask my angel and she'd bring in the information. And to me, honestly, it was shocking, just shocking, the information that she brings forth. So as we work,
What was shocking? What type of information? Shocking in that it was things that like you wouldn't
I
think that
think,
she would know about, or things about
right,
what's going on
correct.
happening on the planet, or what type of, what do you mean by shocking?
Well, all of it, all of the above. I think that what really did it for me, and I hate to bring this up, I had a lady whose child was murdered,
Hmm.
and she called me for a reading, and that's a really tough one because you really
Sure.
have to take this stuff seriously. And my angel was able to tell the woman exactly what happened to her child, and the woman confirmed everything that my angel had told her. She wanted to know if she suffered, basically. And I gave her the details of what had happened, and it was comforting. But I guess when I hung up the phone, I was really shaken that my angel was able to bring forth this really important information to this woman. So that's how serious this stuff is. And I take it very seriously
Now,
because but she needed that. She needed the comfort. You know what I mean? She needed that. So
so
yeah.
when you do a reading, you call in your Haley, your guardian
Haley.
angel,
Yeah, Haley. I call Haley.
and there is kind of a like a beautiful hue to your right side.
Yeah.
It's almost like a mist,
Oh,
or
you
like
can see
almost
her.
like an
Some
outline.
people can
Yeah.
see her. Yeah, most people can see her. If you're very intuitive, you can see her.
Okay.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you for joining us, Haley. Appreciate that.
Mhm.
And so, when do you call in other angels? And yeah, let's just start with that.
Yeah, well, if I want a message, that I really feel is something, I'll call Gabriel in and I'll write, but I do it different with him. Like I said, with her, it just comes into my head immediate. With him, it comes into my head and I write it. I don't know why I do it different with him, but I do. So it's a little bit different with Gabriel. So I guess, it just depends. And even with Michael, it's a little different with Michael too when I work with him. So each one we have a kind of a little different thing that we do. With Gabriel, I bring him all the way in like this.
Hmm.
So he's with me. He's like totally with me. Like his wings wrapped around me like that. So each one is a little bit different how I communicate with them. But basically, it's telepathic.
How many how do you know which angel to call in for what? Did you have to study? Okay, this art, at Raphael is for healing, and Michael is protection and severing ties and things like that. Did you have to
Yeah.
study all of the different, because there's a core group
Yeah.
of archangels,
Yeah.
and then there's
Yeah.
a bunch of others.
Yeah. Like I'll call in Raphael if I need a healing, but I also call in my metaphysical team to heal me too.
Mhm.
So,
Okay. What is that? Your metaphysical team for our audience?
so we all can call in our metaphysical team who is on the other side to help us heal energetically. You have to remember we're these energetic beings in these bodies. And a lot of times, yes, you can go to the doctor and get medicine, but a lot of times it's our energy field. And so I've learned how to clear my energy field and I've learned how to I bring in the angel light daily. So there's a lot of different little things that I do to keep myself, powered up and healthy and joyful.
Okay. For a starter, for somebody who wants to make that connection with their guardian angel and then angels in general, what would be kind of like the three steps that you would give them that they can start to do at home?
Yeah, the steps are in the book, and I can go through them with you real quick, but basically it's saying a prayer, okay, and asking for your angel who's holy and divine to work with you and then listen, acknowledging that they're there. You can say, I know I have a guardian angel. I know you're here with me. I'm acknowledging you. And you can say, are you male or female? And just listen. And then you can say, what is your name? And listen. And it's a practice. It's like anything else. It's like riding a bike. You practice, you work with them, and then you realize, that's how you know. And then you start to know the difference between you and your angel guide.
Fantastic. Okay. Nancy Yearout, the name of the book is A Guide to Angel Communications and Spiritual Laws. We're talking about angels, archangels, guardian angels, how you communicate with them. And now let's move to the universal laws, the spiritual laws that you outline in the book. I think you listed 11 of them, starting
Yes.
with be true to yourself, all the way to do not judge. Do you want to tap into like those laws and where do they come from? And they're so important and they're so true.
Yeah.
And just talk to
Yeah.
us about that a little bit.
Yeah, well, you said be true to yourself, and that's absolutely, I mean, this goes back to William Shakespeare said, to thine own self be true. I mean, it's been told to us. We just haven't listened in my mind. But be who you are and be true to yourself. And don't worry about what other people think. And don't be afraid to be who you truly are. And trust yourself, trust your own intuition. You know, it's really important that we trust our own intuition and just be our authentic selves. Don't worry about other people judging us. So that's the most important in the very beginning. Be truthful and honest is the next one because you know, I'm an empath and people, I can tell if somebody's lying, and it's really hurtful when someone lies to you. And it's also hurting yourself when you're not honest. So it's really important that people just be honest. Um, Forgiving and letting go is another one. And I think forgiveness is really not always for the other person, it's for you.
Mhm.
Because when you don't forgive, you carry the
That's
weight
right.
with you. And so when you forgive somebody, you're really releasing it off your own shoulders. And that's why I say it's so important to forgive people. You don't have to forget what they did, and you don't have to condone what they did, but take it off your own shoulders. Don't carry it around with you, you know, and
Okay.
that's what's really important. Let me see, what else is a good one in here for me to tell you guys?
You don't have to go through every one. People need to get the book to get them all, but
They do, but I have honor your body, you
mhm,
know, and why it's important. Be grateful, you know, be grateful
absolutely.
for what you got right now. And I won't go through them all, but then I talk about be aware of the signs and numbers because everybody, not everybody, but people who are waking up are starting to see the numbers and they're
Mhm,
starting to see the signs. And so I do, you know, I talk about that because people are starting to be aware. The signs have always been here, but you don't see them until you start to be a
mhm,
little bit more aware.
mhm.
And so those are some of the laws. I talk about love and I talk about judgment. I think my one of my biggest ones is judgment
Yeah.
because we've and you know I have to stop myself a lot of times too and say no, don't judge that person because you don't want to be judged. And we can't judge each other. We have to be compassionate towards each other. Instead of judging, we need to go to compassion because everybody has a different life and everybody walks in a different down a different path. And we all came here to learn different things. So how can you judge somebody? You don't know why they're here or what they're here to learn. So that is one of my biggest ones is judgment. And I'm at fault as well. I have to continuously, okay, don't judge, don't judge.
It's tough for everybody. Now,
Yeah.
the last third of the book, if you will, is very important, I think, and it's your correspondence with Archangel Gabriel. And
Yeah.
it's you know there's very positive messages, but there's also you know a lot of information about kind of what's on the horizon, some challenges for humanity. We hear it all the time, like everything things are going to collapse, but it's going to be better, and there's just so much information out there, and like be love and don't make your decisions based on fear. But so much of the information that's coming through to us is generates fear, and it's understandable with people. Like, how could they not be afraid with all the uncertainty? You tell people everything you know is false, everything's going to collapse, but it's going to be better. That's tough for people, right?
Well, yeah, but that's okay. So now I'm going to rewind and go back to the
Please.
very first thing in the book, which is connecting to God, connecting to spirit. You can say source, but when you take 5, 10 minutes in the morning, as long as it takes to brush your teeth, I teach to bring in the light and connect to source and say a prayer. Then you become aware of what's going on, but not a participant.
Mhm.
Okay.
Witness, right?
Absolutely. It changes you. And I can only speak for what's happened to me and I've talked to other people. You know, when you get to that point where you're connected to God, you know you're taken care of. You know, I know I'm a light worker. I know I am with God. I know that all this craziness can go on in the world, but I'm protected. Why? Because I'm in the light of God. I'm with spirit. And once you know, and the love, I have to say, once you connect, the love that you have inside of you, you see everybody keeps buying things to fill up this hole that's in their gut right here. Well,
Right.
you can't buy stuff to fill yourself up. It's bringing in the Holy Spirit that fills up your soul. It's the connection. We've lost our connection. Just like we're connecting back to that mainframe, that computer up there that we've lost our connection to. And it fills you up to the point where material things aren't as important anymore, and you start to change. And so then you're not as afraid. Um, Faith, I talk about faith in the book
Yes.
too, just having faith in what you cannot see. Gabriel's messages, he talks about things are going to get worse before they get better, but we've already seen that. Things have gotten really bad, and now we do see some light, so things are getting a little bit better, but we still have wars. And he did talk a little bit about the war in Israel,
Right.
but the editor took him out, a lot of those, because they were a little concerned about any kind of controversy. So
Sure.
I'll just say that.
So when you were kind of having your own epiphanies about your ability to channel and communicate and declare audio, all of your gifts, did they come one after the other? I mean,
Mhm.
and then you're like, oh, I can do this, I can do that. Was this a
Well,
process for you, an opening, like an unfoldment, spiritual unfoldment in its truest sense?
yeah, what happened? The first one, gosh, I tell this story. The first, I'm such an empath, and I was doing my show, and I was bringing in the light, and I had written my book, and I was really into this stuff. And my husband came home from work, and he sat down on the couch, and I could see an imprint of a girl with long dark hair sitting next to him. And I was like, that's weird. And I looked at him and I said, who's the girl with the long dark hair? And it was awful because it was like gut wrenching. And I called every psychic I knew. And they're like, Nancy, you're an empath. You can see the imprint. You're seeing the energetic imprint. And it scared me, and it was awful, and it was hard. But it taught me one of my biggest gifts is an
Mhm.
empath. I'm an empath.
Amazing.
And it was hard. Yeah, it's not always easy to know. And I know when people lie to me, and that's hard too.
Now, if you're out at the supermarket or whatever, Trader Joe's or Sprouts or Whole Foods, wherever you are, do you pick up energy from people like, oh my God, that person has cancer, or
Yeah,
like they're not happy together, or can you turn it on and off?
I turn it on and off. In the beginning, I made the mistake. I've made a lot of mistakes. I've got a lot. I mean, I went to the bank once, this is a few years back, and I sat down. I was doing some business, and I was in an office, and this young girl was there, and she was really upset. I knew her boyfriend and her had a fight, and I said, I said something like, it'll work out, or what. And she just looked at me, and she didn't even want to wait on me because she knew.
I know you.
So,
You've been
oh my
naughty.
God. So you have to be careful, and then, yeah, I tune it down a little bit. But, I'm a bright light when I go out. And I do that. And I'm glad I'm a bright light. And I do protect myself. But you know what? I try to send as much good energy out to the world as I can.
Okay. My Nancy Yearout, amazing angel communicator, author, podcast host. The book is a guide to angel communication, spiritual laws. We talked about this when we were setting up the interview. Maybe we can get some information through. So let's start with your guardian angel, Haley. Does she have
Mhm.
a message for our audience? What people need to know? This is
Oh,
we're right around Thanksgiving as we're
Thanksgiving
recording
time.
this
Yeah,
interview.
well, let me ask her and see what she says. Haley, what's your message for humanity? To be grateful for the things you have, not for the things you want, but for the things you have. Families get together during the holiday and they don't always get along, but do the best you can and be grateful. She says, smile and accept people for who they are. You're all different and all unique, and you're all special. This is a time to be grateful for what you have.
Can I ask Haley a couple of questions?
Sure.
Now, this is about Haley, not about me.
Ah,
Were you always Haley? Were you, first of all, thank you for allowing me to do this, ask these questions, but were you always an angel? And how did you get connected to Nancy?
yes, she's always been an angel. I've been, I've been up there in the angelic realm with her.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you see my guardian angel right now?
It's a man. He's strong, broad shoulders. Looks like a real broad shoulders, real muscular. He watches over you. I get like a Bruce, the name of a Bruce. Bruce. Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Um, what, if I may, what do I need to know, me personally, Robert Manni, right now?
Slow down on your work. Too much work and not enough play. You need balance. Walk on the beach more. You have the ability. You're not doing it. She wants you to do it. Does that resonate with you?
It does because it's only a mile away, and
Yeah.
I rarely go there. It's
Yeah.
like it's one of those things where when it's there, you don't do it.
Yeah, and she's telling me, telling you to take your shoes off and put your feet in the sand because, that's where the energy is, and that will ground you. It will also heal you. It's very healing to be out there and to walk on the beach. You need that. And you've got an imbalance. You've got too much work and not enough play, and you need the balance, is what she's saying to you. Anything else, Haley? Oh, she says you have a wonderful wife. Appreciate her.
Ah, that's true. I do. And she said the exact same thing. We should walk on the beach more.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
so great.
Can
I
I
love.
ask about my cat? I mentioned this to Nancy.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, we can have.
Passed
Mhm.
about 2 weeks ago in a very surprising, not in a good way, and not in a great way that she went. Her name was Suki, and just want to know, reach out to her. I want to reach out to her and say I'm sorry, and that we love her and we miss her so much, and we wish she was with us, and wish she would come back to us in some way.
Let me see what Haley says. Haley, what do you want to tell him about Suki? You brought Suki so much joy that she does want to return. It won't be for a little while, but there will come a time where you will get a new kitten, and it will be her.
Great. Sort of
Oh,
sense
I'm
of
like all emotional about this.
sense of time frame, because I don't want to rush into it, and I want to make the right
I get
decision.
I'm getting six, like 6 months. I'm getting
Okay.
six.
Okay.
Six is what I get automatically. And let me just say, Haley and I are so connected. If you notice, she's immediate.
Yes.
She
Yes.
answers me. I mean, there's no hesitation. And so that should be kind of to help you guys when you want to talk to your angel. You can talk to your angel, talk to Bruce, get to
Mhm.
know him
Mhm.
because he does want to talk to you and he does want to communicate. Let me
It's
see.
interesting because I asked for my guardian angel's name, and it was a man, but the name wasn't Bruce, but it was a biblical name, and so that's what I use all the time. I guess that doesn't matter, right?
Whatever, you can have more than one angel. I have
Mm.
seven that work
Okay.
with me, but I have a lot of protection around me because I have work to do here on the planet. I think that's why is the deal. But and I believe that you have, just like you have different spirit guides come and go, I believe you have different angels that come and go at different
Mhm.
times too. But you always have the one guardian that is your steadfast. I think that's why it's so important that I teach everybody how to connect with your guardian, because you got to remember that this angel has been with me from the time I was born. She
Right.
knows everything about me, which is kind of scary actually, because I've thought about it. I've thought, oh wow. And they always say if you knew what you do, have a guardian angel standing next to you, you'd probably change how you operate, what you say, what you do, right?
Now, how important are those, when we have thoughts versus people think things, sometimes negative things, but they don't do anything about it. I mean, but it creates energy. Could you
Mhm.
explain a little bit, Nancy and or Haley, about how what we think and what we feel and how that it is in sync with what we're doing, in
Sure.
that it has an energetic imprint and a ripple effect across the universe?
Yeah, I'll talk about it and then I'll see if Haley wants to add anything. But, I wrote the book, Wake Up, about this subject, about energy, because I was in the real estate business, single mom, and needed to draw business to myself. And so that's when I started saying affirmations. And so it's the power of the spoken word, it's the vibration of your voice that goes out into the universe, and the universe complies. So if you say, I'm fat every day, you will be fat because you've told the universe that's what you want. So be careful what you say. Your self-talk has to be positive. And when you speak negativity and when you say curse words and you send that out, it comes back to you. So if you send out love, you get love back. So it's your thoughts, it's your emotions, and it's your verbal. You know, Jesus talked about the spoken word so much in the Bible. We should really get this part where what we say creates. We're little creators with the spark of the divine in all of us. So we're constantly creating. So whatever you put your attention to is what you're creating. So what are you thinking about all day? What are you speaking about all day? This is really important. We are manifesting. We are creating our reality with our words and our thoughts, moment by moment.
What is your perspective on timelines where things could be, you could be have different results and all different results happening all at the same
Oh,
time, and the notion that we experience time in the third dimension because that's just how it's laid out for us, and we're very dense. Yet time is really all happening concurrently, if you will, and it's
yeah,
hard for people to wrestle with that because it's a
yeah,
tricky one.
yeah. Couple things I'll say about time. First of all, your angel can help you manipulate time because I do this a lot. If I have a tendency to take too long to get ready, and so I'll say, Haley, I need 10 more minutes, and she'll say, okay. And I
I
get my
love it.
10 minutes, all right. Or if I'm late, I'll say, dude, I've been doing this for years, though. I've been doing this for a long time. So we've created time. First of all, let me say this. Humans have created time. Okay, we created this. It wasn't, I mean, this is a man-made thing. So I believe that, yes, we can manipulate timelines. I learned about timelines a few years back when I felt myself jumping timelines, going from the third to the fifth. I would be somewhere and I would think, wait a minute. And I would realize, I'm trying to think of an easy way to say this to people. Either an object would be missing and it would be in the wrong timeline. Like maybe I
Hmm.
had 3D,
Yep.
but now I'm in 5D, so I can't find it. Um, it's just you start to realize, I'm trying to think of an easy way to say this, but you start to realize, I was jumping from 3 to 5 back and forth. Now I don't do it as much, but it's you'll start to notice things that aren't there or are different, and you start to realize, wait a minute, something's going on here, and you're jumping timelines is what you're doing. It's
Wow.
kind of interesting.
How about so many people have this question about, and we talked to Suki, communicated through Haley with Suki briefly, and thank you so much, Haley,
Mhm.
for indulging us here.
Mhm.
How can people best uh, communicate with those loved ones who have passed over when they're so
Oh,
distraught and they don't know that you know that the where the person went, if they're okay? How do you kind of come to closure with that with certain people?
yeah. Well, I can only tell you my own experiences and what I've helped other people with. You can communicate with your people who have passed if you choose to. Now, my sister passed from leukemia a few years ago. She's one of my guides. She played the piano and we sang. So when I hear a certain song, or now I just know she's there. But at first it was a song. A lot of times it'll be perfume, or a flower or a butterfly. And those are indications that they're around. When my dad passed, I was actually able to see. I talked to my dad on Facebook. or a FaceTime, and then he passed. And then I walked in the other room. I was in another state, and I looked up and I saw him. God let me see, and he was young again.
Yeah.
And he had jeans on and a t-shirt, and he did the "see you later" to me.
Hmm.
And that was it. And I got to see him leave. And so some of us get a glimpse. I got a glimpse of my dad going. I told my mom and she didn't believe me, which was really hard.
Well, that's a
But
big part of it too, right, Nancy? That
yeah,
you
you got to
be
believe.
open. Yeah.
Yeah, but I saw him like no other.
Well,
So I know when my dad's around, or I'll call him, and I know when my sister's around. I think you just have to watch for the signs. A lot of times they'll flicker lights to get your attention. There's different things that they do, but everybody knows their loved one, and so they kind of get a feeling. If you get a feeling that they're around, just start to have a conversation. And then it's the same thing, like when you communicate with the angels, the same thing. Ask a question and listen.
now, I
It's
have heard, Nancy, that because we're in this dense 3D, that it's easier. Like if we say, "Hey, Dad, Mom, I love you," they can hear it very loudly on the other side. Yet when they want to communicate with us, it's a lot more difficult because they have to get through in our dense energy.
Yeah, the frequency. It's the frequency.
Yeah.
That's why when I first had Mark Anthony do it, it was
Mhm.
interesting to see how he did it. He connected to that frequency. That's what he was doing in order to get the messages from you're exactly right. I believe that too, but for me personally, it's a little different because I've evolved a lot since then. And now, um, I just know they're around, and I have more of a clear communication because I've done it for a while. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So it's yeah, it's almost become like a second nature, you know?
Okay. The name of the book is A Guide to Angel Communications and Spiritual Laws and Angel Connection and Angel's Connection to God. It's a terrific book. Nancy Yearout's our guest. Before we close out, Nancy, let's take a few minutes. What would be your best tips for people right now, your best tips in terms of how they need to kind of deal with everything that's been going on? And it seems like to me, it seems like the timelines are speeding up even faster where recently people said, "Oh, things are going to happen about 5 years from now." That seems like present now almost. Correct me if I'm wrong. It seems like the timelines have gotten shorter, and what people need to do about what's happening with our planet.
Well, it feels like time is speeding up. I will agree with you on that one. I think people, first of all, need to connect with God, with spirit. Okay. I don't care what you say. It's that love energy. That's the most important thing. The other thing is to go outside.
Mhm.
Get outside. We don't need to build any more stuff. We just need to go outside and connect with nature. We've lost our connection to nature, and nature is so healing. And we just, like I was talking to you about going walking on the beach, just
Mhm.
getting outside is so important in connecting to nature. So connect to God and connect to nature. It will change you. Whether you go for a walk every day, just get out. I get stuck in the house too. It's really easy to do.
Right.
But yeah, it's true. It's so true. But you have to get out and experience nature because the trees, it may sound kind of wooey, they all have energy and they all have wisdom, and it helps us. Before we had all these buildings and stuff, and before we had shoes, we would be outside and we would connect with nature. And that's what we have to get back. Technology has taken us to a point where we're gone too far. We've got to connect back to nature. It's really cool to have technology, but you got to have balance. You have to have technology and nature and make it equal. And right now it's not. And
Mhm.
so we've got to bring it back. And that's the biggest thing that I could tell people right now.
Awesome. You're doing wonderful work. We really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing this important information. Tell everybody where they can get your book. It's coming out December 1st in the US,
Yes.
and also where they can learn more about you and get in touch with you for whatever reasons.
Thank you. Yeah, so my book will be out December 1st. It is out in the UK, and you can order it right now on Amazon and at barnesandnoble.com. Also, my website is nancyyearout.com, or if you want a psychic reading, it's psychicforhumanity.com. I do have an empath class coming up on December 7th. Go to psychicforhumanity.com. And my podcast and my YouTube channel is High Road to Humanity. Come and see me.
Check it out. Subscribe. You're doing great work, Nancy. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Haley, for being with us today. And thank you for the information at the perfect time. And everything is always at the perfect time, right?
Yeah, God bless. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
If you enjoy the guests and content I bring you each and every week to Guys TV and Guys Radio, please support us by subscribing to our channels and platforms. Thank you.